Welcome to Secret Story. My late afternoon meeting had just broken, and I was walking out of the lobby with Bob and Ted, my partners. We had just brokered the biggest deal our firm had ever completed and were euphoric. We had worked on this deal for over 6 months, logging ridiculous hours traveling, observing, and negotiating this merger. The two companies signed the agreement today and retained us as their new corporate attorneys, meaning millions of dollars in billable hours for the next 3 years and most likely forever. The clients had gone, and the staff had finished cleaning up all the paperwork. I sent them home feeling excellent about what we all had accomplished together. I am Terrence Grace, managing partner. I gave everyone off the rest of the day and tomorrow, Friday, for family time and to take a deep breath, knowing we had to hit the road running on Monday. As we reached the hotel's front door, the valets ran off to get our cars, and we all pulled out our phones and feverishly texted our spouses about our successful day. We had agreed not to tell them what was happening today and surprise them when it finally happened. They all knew we were working on something big, but we legally could not discuss it, and we did not want to build it up if, for some reason, it did not happen. So, this was a day of celebration for each of the partners. Ted's Toyota SUV arrived first. And I joked. I think we all need to make an appointment for our new company cars on Monday. What do you think? We all laughed and agreed. Bob's Chevy came up next, and we all hugged, and I sent them on their way. We had been friends since the second year of law school at Stanford. We all decided not to take the big offers and get sucked up in the big law firms bidding for our services. We had decided together that we were damn good lawyers, and we just needed to pass the bar, and we could build our law practice from the ground up. We graduated top 3 in our class and were inundated with offers. They were hard to turn down, but we stuck to our plan. We were all single with huge student loans and lust for the law. We were driven and agreed that we would do whatever we had to build our firm, be successful and pay off all our loans in 3 years. The start was rough, but I had some family money from a small inheritance from my grandmother, so we had a little seed money. On the first try, we all passed the bar and opened Stevens, Palmer, and Grace, attorneys at law, on August 1, 2016. It was a typical late summer day in the South, hot and sticky from the first breath of the day. The excitement we all felt was salted with fear and wild dreams of success. We knew nothing was going to stop us. We did a ribbon cutting we had stretched across our shopping strip door. We all man-hugged as we stepped through the door into our first office at 250 Lanier Place, Atlanta, Georgia. It was a former real estate office with cubicles and 2 conference rooms. We rented the furniture and equipment we needed. We hired 2 paralegals to work as Jills of all trades, doing everything we needed to be done, on the promise we would make them rich in 5 years. Marilyn Scott was an older woman that had retired a few years earlier after 25 years of experience working in mergers and acquisitions at a leading Atlanta firm. She had all the local knowledge and broad experience in the back office work we needed. She also knew a lot of people, good contacts, and resources. Unfortunately, her retirement didn't last long. Her husband developed cancer and passed away quickly. So she needed the distraction our job could offer. Frances Strong, Frankie to us, was our second hire. She was a young paralegal right out of school with no experience, and Marilyn took her under her wing and taught her everything. They were an incredible team. Within 6 months, we had 2 Marilyns, an older and younger version. We were off and running, taking on any legal work we could get, including traffic violations, evictions, drunk driving, and personal injury. We even took on a few divorces since Marilyn knew that business cold. We were not shy about making money. We had all given up big money and felt good about it, but sometimes we wondered if we had been crazy starting as we did. We had all agreed to pay our 2 ladies well to keep them happy, and we paid us little. We had enough to buy clothes and food and have a place to shower and sleep. Our cars were all crap, but they got us from point A to point B, and right now, that was all that mattered. We had a 3-bedroom apartment that was always a disaster. We had work stuff all over the place, and we were just 3 bachelors with no women in our personal lives, living on ramen noodles and fast food. We didn't have time to cook, and none of us could. It was like law school: work, sleep, eat and work. That was the 24-hour cycle. We had no social life, with our only real conversations with other people being with our clients and other attorneys or clerks of the courts. We knew the routine and were committed to it until that day came when we had banked enough money to pay off our college loans. That was the first and most important thing, to be free of that hideous debt. There would be a celebration. In the meantime, Marilyn had us over every Sunday for a real meal. Frankie always came too. She was 24 and had no serious boyfriend. Later we found out Frankie had been with a guy through high school. Sadly, a year after, her boyfriend was killed in Afghanistan, and she had not recovered from that, so we helped her as best we could. We had a little Christmas party, just the 5 of us, and a very nice restaurant, and went out for a few drinks and laughs. That was the first night I saw a twinkle in Bob's eye for Frankie. Their love slowly smoldered for several months, then one day, he told Ted and me, "Guys, I am madly in love with Frankie, and she is in love with me. How can this work?" Ted and I looked at each other and felt genuine happiness for our friend and co-worker for the first time. "It will work out as long as the 2 of you are all business in the office and at home, but you can never bring her into our den of disgust. She will want to clean it up, and that will not happen." We all laughed and went out to congratulate the happy couple. Bob and Frankie dated for a year, then moved in together, and 6 months later, they married in a modest ceremony. With just family and a few friends. It was beautiful, and they were happy. Our business was growing. After 2 years, I focused on business law, finding a small merger and a couple of acquisitions. We received a few referrals, and the 3 initial relationships were successful, so we had a foothold in the mergers and acquisition arena. They fed our coffers, allowing us to hire another young attorney, Ryan Stiles, to handle the other mundane business we had been doing. Ted and Bob stepped into the bread and butter business, and we were off and running. Our staff grew. We hired an assistant and promoted Marilyn to lead paralegal, and she handled all our MA business while Frankie did all of Ryan's work. By the end of our 3rd year, we had banked $454,000. That was more than we needed to pay off our college loans. We asked Ryan how much his loans were, and we agreed to pay them off if he signed a 3-year work contract. He agreed, so all of us would be debt-free and ready to fly. The next 2 years were exciting but required a lot of hard work. We added 3 more staff and 1 more attorney, Suzanne Welch. She was a contract specialist and a graduate of Emory Law. Suzanne was the necessary asset that enabled us to move on to the next level of client. She came highly recommended, but we did have to buy her away with the promise of junior partner in 2 years. She was a beautiful 30-year-old woman from a very good Savannah family. Her whole family was in the law. Suzanne had broken away from working in family law to personal injury to work in MA, her passion. She was recently divorced, and 100% focused on work. In the meantime, Frankie and Bob had a baby boy they named Frank. He was cute but caused Frankie to pull back some. She still worked 3 days a week, and we were making enough money now they could afford a nanny for the other days. Ted and I had separated and bought homes, so no more bachelor disaster area living. I bought a beautiful older house, bigger than I needed, on Tuxedo Road in Buckhead near the Cherokee Country Club. I love golf and want access to the town club for lunch and business meetings. I completely remodeled the house, making it a great party house, but I also set it up for my future family. Ted was much more outgoing and had been holding back while we built our practice. He was planning to become the available bachelor and more into the party scene. So, he bought a 3-bedroom condo downtown that would work best for him. Bob and Frankie bought a house in Druid Hills, remodeled it, and moved in just as they welcomed their second baby, a little girl, Stacy Ann. Bob was the consummate family man, and with two little ones, Frankie left the firm to tend to her family. She was always there to help and gave Bob a good bedroom consultation. Another change was we bought a house zoned for business, in Dunwoody. After remodeling the building to meet our needs, we moved our offices there. We now had space for 10 associates and a staff of 20. When we outgrew this office, we would be in the big time. The location would prove over time to have been a very strategic move. So back to today. Today was our young firm's best day 6 years after our small beginning. We have just closed our biggest acquisition agreement and secured a 3-year legal retainer that will pay us millions in fees over its term. Frankie, the office staff, our wives, and girlfriends have planned a celebration for tomorrow night at the Capital City Club. Yes, finally. After all this time in the past 2 years, Bob and I have broken out of business-induced celibacy and found loving partners. Bob had Mindy James as his live-in girlfriend, and they will surely get married. I also took the love pill and now have Patrice Jones-Grace as my wife. I am happy to say I have found the missing piece of my life. I will tell you more later, but 16 months and 21 days ago, we were married in a nice church wedding with our parents and friends in attendance. It was a beautiful service, and everyone was so happy. Life has been like a fairy tale ever since. It was like once we all committed to ourselves and others sharing our lives, everything came together. And our lives flourished. Contracts began to come our way, and our law firm grew quickly. It was Patrice that connected us with this large deal. Her best friend was married to the CEO of one of the companies, and the natural flow of business took over, and it all came together, leading us to today. My Ford Explorer arrived, and I got in. I was the last one to leave, and as I pulled out onto the street, I saw Patrice's red BMW pull into the Marriott across the street. I thought that was odd. Thursday was her book club night, and they met at Melissa's house. I looked at my watch. It was 6:47 p.m., and they started at 7 o'clock sharp. The last thing I heard from her this morning was she would be home by 10. As was the norm. I pulled over in the parking lot and pulled out my phone. I had sent her a quick text earlier telling her we had closed the deal and was excited for her to get home after the book club. I had been so caught up with the excitement of the day and Bob and Ted that I hadn't realized Patrice had not responded. That surprised me, but I thought it was nothing. We are both busy and don't always respond quickly, but that and the fact I saw her arriving at a hotel made my. I pulled out and shot across the street into the Marriott parking lot, seeing Patrice step out of her BMW talking on her phone. I pulled up and parked behind her as she walked away into the lobby. I got out of my SUV and walked around the building stopping by the pool and outside bar. I looked over the bar through the window into the inside lounge area. I saw Patrice sitting at the bar by herself. Her standard dirty martini was sitting in front of her, Grey Goose vodka, 3 large Spanish olives, and 2 tablespoons of olive juice. I took out my phone and took a picture of her as I saw her answer her phone. She talked a minute, then drank the remainder of her martini, and the bartender pushed a house ticket to her, and she signed it. She slipped off the stool and walked out of the bar. I moved, following her across the lobby and seeing her step into the elevator. I quickly walked over and saw the car stop on the 6th floor. I had taken a second picture as she was standing by the elevator. So I had my phone in my hand. I looked in the directory and pressed dial. The other end answered. "Trevor, I need you now. Can you come? Downtown Marriott on Peachtree. Bring your bag of goodies. We have some things to do." "Okay, in 15 minutes. I'll meet you in the parking lot. Look for my SUV." I hung up, walked across the lobby into the lounge, and sat on the same stool Patrice had occupied. The bartender asked what I would like, and I wanted to ask, to know what my wife is doing on the 6th floor. "No, thank you, I am meeting someone." I was in here a little while ago and saw a blonde woman sitting here. I think I knew her, but before I could say anything, I got a call. And when I returned, she was gone. Do you know her name? Does she come here often? He looked at me, analyzing what I had said. I was smooth, so it sounded legit. I knew he would tell me. Yes, I have seen her 6 or 7 times in the last few months. She always meets the same guy or gets a call and goes to meet him, but later I see them come in for a drink. She always drinks a dirty martini, probably matching what she had been doing with the guy upstairs. I love bartending but hate the cheaters I have to serve here. I can pick them out every time, and it makes me sick. So, you think she was cheating? I asked. Hell yeah, she was. I heard them talking a week ago tonight. She was worried about her husband catching them. And she said he was an attorney and would dump her. What did the guy say? I asked. He leaned over and kissed her. Then he said, Terrence, we'll never find out. He is so wrapped up in his big deal that he doesn't know anything about your actions. Why did you break up with me and marry that nerd anyway? That was the conversation, and he said all that. Yeah, I remember it because the woman started to tear up at the nasty words he was saying about her husband. What did she say? She told him, Jimmy, shut the up. She slapped him, and she got up and left. The guy sat there and then ran out without paying. I ran after him and caught him at the door. He looked out, seeing her driving away. I told him he had to pay the bill and dragged him back into the bar. Then security came and threw him out. I bet that is why he didn't come in tonight, and she went to meet him. You have been extremely helpful. What is your name? Bernie Quinn, and yours? Terrence Grace. Bernie, so glad to meet a good honest bartender. Oh, you're her husband, aren't you, Terrence? Sorry man. Well, Bernie, I am still legally her husband, but it may not be much longer. Thanks for your time and for being so nice to me. My PI, Trevor, will come to see you in a few minutes. Please cooperate with him, okay? Sure, I will do what I can. I took my card, wrapped it with $100 bill, and pushed it across the bar. This is not a communal tip, Bernie. It is for you, so put this 20 in the tip jar. Thanks again. If you ever need any legal work, you have my card. Bernie thanked me, and I left. I went outside to my SUV, and Trevor was waiting for me. Sorry, Trev, I found a very friendly bartender who will help us greatly. Terry, what's going on? Patrice is cheating on me. I can't believe it, but she is. I guess I have been so wrapped up in this deal I couldn't see it happening. Maybe 2 or 3 months now, I think. They have been here to this hotel 6 or 7 times that Bernie has seen them. Sometimes he comes to the bar, but other times he calls her when she is in the bar, and she goes up to meet him. That is what they did tonight. They're on the 6th floor, but I'm unsure which room. Patrice signed a room charge ticket, so she wrote it on the ticket. Okay, I can get it, so what do you want me to do? Bernie, the bartender, is expecting you, so get what you can from him and the room number. I also want to know who this is. Jimmy is the name she called him last week. I want everything on him. Is he a regular here? Does he live here? You know, I want to know everything. When you get that, I want you to call me with what you have. Okay, I'll get it all as fast as possible. As for Patrice, bug her car and activate that email, text, and phone tracker we put on her phone a while ago. Trev, I never thought I would use it for this. But I need to know everything. Okay, boss, I'm on it. I'll be back to you as soon as I can. Last thing, I want a man on both of them 24/7 until I settle this. Okay, I shook Trevor's hand and left. As I drove home, I thought back to the last 2 years with Patrice. It had been wonderful, so how could she start cheating on me? Why? I couldn't figure it out, so I stopped trying. Patrice had to explain to me if she planned to remain my wife, and I was not sure I even wanted that now. I speed-dialed my brothers. They both answered, all excited and happy. Guys, I have some distressing news that you must keep to yourselves until I tell you that you can tell your wives. Patrice is cheating on me, and I don't know more than that. I saw her walking into the Marriott across from our meeting hotel. She was supposed to be at her book club on Thursday nights, but she has been with him for the past few months. I have Trevor on it, and we have a very cooperative bartender that hates cheaters that have filled us in on what he knows. Are you sure? Bob asked. Then Ted, please don't do anything crazy, Terry. No, I am going to act like nothing has happened and go on with life just like what the two of you are going to do. This phone call never happened, understand? It would help if you acted normal around Patrice tomorrow and from now on until I tell you. Understand? No mistakes, no comments, no nothing. Making it as clear as I could. Okay, they both agreed. Now make love to your wives, like I will do tonight when Patrice comes home. Good night. I hung up, pulled into my garage, shut off the engine, and took a deep breath. A wonderful day had turned into pure shit for me. What to do now? I went inside and poured a stiff Maker's Mark, shot it down, then poured the tumbler full. I walked into my office, popped on my laptop, and opened the tracking software on Patrice's phone. I went to text, and there was my text from earlier, then several texts from JBC. JBC text, are you coming tonight? I am only here tonight, so come now. Or don't waste my time. She didn't answer. JBC earlier text, you said you were coming tonight, are you? She didn't answer the earlier text either. 2 days ago, JBC text, I am at the Marriott on Thursday. Are we getting together? Patrice had not answered that text either. I didn't go further back. I was sure of what I would have found and wasn't willing to fill my head with more hate. I went to the email tracker and saw an email from James Conley. Hey, baby, sorry about last week. I was completely out of line. I know you love Terry and don't want to lose him. We can stop seeing each other if that is what you want. I never thought you would ever get with me from the start. I love being with you. It's fun and brings back what we used to have, though I know you don't feel like that for me now. I love you, and you like it too, or you wouldn't come back. I understand if you want to stop. I will be in town next week, and we can meet and discuss it and end it if you want. Your decision, but I am okay either way. James, wow, what an asshole. James doesn't give a shit about Patrice. She has no value to him, he angered me. I am going to hurt him badly. I was hungry, so I ordered Chinese and went for a shower. As I undressed, I saw it was almost 8:30 p.m. My phone buzzed, and I saw it was a text from Trevor. Trevor's text, she is on her way home. She was crying when she left. My text, anything else? Trevor's text, his name is James Conley. He is from Nashville and travels here most weeks for a day or two. A couple of months ago, he switched to Thursday and Friday with a Thursday night stay. Before then, he came on Tuesday and Wednesday. He is married and has 2 kids. My text, okay, send me an email about his family, address, and all you can find out. I closed my phone and stepped into the shower. I heated the water to almost scalding, needing the heat on me. I leaned against the Italian tile, letting the water pelt me burning as each drop hit my skin. My head was clearing, and my future was clearer to me. The shower door opened as I started to wash. And my beautiful wife stepped in. I only glanced at her but didn't move as I washed my hair. I leaned forward with my hands against the wall, not reacting to her, letting her know I knew something was wrong. I stood like that for a few minutes, then decided I needed to leave Patrice in the shower. I pulled Patrice's hands away from my chest, stepped out of the shower, and closed the door without a word. I pulled a towel off the towel warmer and dried off. I walked out of the bathroom and slipped on shorts and a pullover. I went to the kitchen and poured a large glass of Maker's Mark. I got out silverware and plates, ready for the Chinese. I sat reading today's Atlanta Constitution. Killing time and looking as if I was passive about whatever was going on. I heard Patrice come in. She stopped and looked at me. I continued to read the paper and made no sounds or move to acknowledge her presence. I heard her go to the wine closet and bring a bottle to the table. "Terry, can you open this for me? You have opened plenty of bottles, you do it." "I am reading the paper." That was not me. I always did anything Patrice asked, but not tonight. She told me about her affair until she felt so guilty or afraid or got so mad. I was not mentioning it until I was ready, which might be days. Once I had all the information and made up my mind about what I was going to do with James Conley. I would confront Patrice. If she wanted to come clean to me, we would address it. The doorbell rang, and the Chinese arrived. Tonight had gone bad on every front. Actually, the last 2 months have gone very badly. 7 weeks ago, I cheated on my new husband. I am not sure why it happened, but I let it happen, or maybe I made it happen. I don't know for sure. 3 months ago, I was on the internet looking at Facebook, Instagram, and a few other sites I follow. When I logged on to classmates.com, I saw a list of new members, so I scanned down the list. I saw a few people I remembered and a lot I didn't. Then oh my God, there he was, James Conley, my crush in high school. James was a school counselor. I went to see him many times and became completely smitten by him. He was in his 20s and only a few years out of college. He was so handsome, tall, 6 feet or so, and built solid. He had deep blue eyes and a Roman face with a strong jaw. His hair was black and curly and hung down just above his shoulders. He looked so hot. All the girls gushed over him. I was a year behind my normal class. When I was 11, my dad had an assignment for 10 months in Europe, so my whole family, my brother, me, and mom went with my dad. We lived in Paris, and I didn't go to school for a year. When I came back, I moved back into school a year behind and a year older. I was also born in early October, so the way school registration worked, I was too young by 10 days, so I was held back until the next September to start school. By the time I was 2 months into my sophomore year, I was already 18. All the other girls looked much younger and were only 16. The senior boys were all after me, and I was very receptive to their advances. On my birthday, after my birthday party, Peter took me to the Holiday Inn and gave me his birthday present. Then one day, I was called to Mr. Conley's office for a career counseling session. I was so nervous about going to see him. Not for any reason, but because he made me feel nervous. That day changed my whole life. It was at the end of the school day, and I would go home once the session was over. He welcomed me in, and we talked about what I wanted to study in college and what colleges might work best for me. At first, we sat across from each other, but then he moved and sat beside me. We talked, but I was so that I couldn't tell you what we had discussed. I and James until I graduated and went off to college. Once I graduated, I stopped seeing James. He had gotten married, and I didn't want to mess that up for him. I had a job as a pharmaceutical sales rep, so I saw a lot of young doctors that I was hoping to snag one of them and marry him, but before that happened, I was invited to a weekend up at Lake Lanier with a group. The first night I met this sweet guy, Terrence Grace, an attorney. He was beautiful and hot as hell. I wanted him as soon as I saw him. I worked on him, flirting and teasing him. He told me he had been so not building his law firm with his partners he had not dated in almost 3 years. I couldn't believe this hit guy was available. I made it my mission to get to know him very well. We made love the second night, and it was wonderful. After that, he was an amazing, and over the next 6 months, I fell in love with him. We were not exclusive initially, and James had come back into my several times a week. He asked me to marry him on Christmas Eve at Terry's firm's Christmas party. I was slightly surprised, but I did love him, so I said yes. That night I texted James telling him we were over, and I was getting married. He knew I was into Terry and accepted it, wishing me a happy life. A month after that, he told me he had taken a sales job in Nashville and was moving. That was a good thing, removing him from my life. Terrence Grace married me on April 25th. It was a beautiful wedding in front of all our family and friends. For our honeymoon, we flew off to the Maldives for 2 weeks. It was glorious. It was magnificent, and I knew I never needed another man after that time. Terrence Grace was my man and all I needed. Our life together was wonderful. My medical sales job was easy, though time-consuming, and the law firm was growing and becoming successful. They had been working day and night on a big merger I had helped arrange. It was hours and hours of work that kept us apart. I knew it was a critical time, so I accepted it, knowing what it meant for our future. Then several months ago, I came across James Conley, an old lover, on the internet. I read his profile, and it piqued my interest. I was happy with my life, and Terry satisfied me so well, so I was not needy in any area. Curiosity was my nemesis. I texted James through the classmate website, and he responded a few days later. It was idle chatter, just talking about our lives, then we reminisced about our time together. Then he told me he traveled to Atlanta on business a few times a month. That was bad information for me. I suddenly wanted to see James. No, for some reason I held off moving on my desire for over a month. Then James texted me he would be in town next Thursday night. After that night, I calmed down, knowing I could lose everything if I saw James again. 2 weeks went by, and James texted me again. James text, Patrice, I am in Atlanta on Thursday this week. Do you want to get together for dinner or maybe just coffee? I didn't respond right away. I waited 2 days, but I thought about it every moment. I had a tough time sleeping each night, even after Terry and I on Monday and Tuesday nights. I felt guilty for just thinking about seeing James Wednesday afternoon. I texted James. My text, James, I can meet for dinner, but nothing else. I must be home by 10 p.m. James texted back instantly, deal, I am at the Marriott on Peachtree, will 6:30 work? My text, yes, 6:30 p.m. will work. I have to be on my way home by 9:30 p.m. James text, okay. It will be good to see you. I didn't respond. I was a nervous wreck that night and couldn't cook, so I ordered DoorDash from our neighborhood Italian restaurant. We ate and chatted, but it was a strained night. After dinner, I cleaned up and sat quietly, reading a book. I wasn't reading, but Terry thought I was. I was trying to think through what I was about to do and make sure I wanted to take the risk I was about to take. Finally, at about 10 p.m., I told Terry I was tired, kissed him hard, and went to bed. I text James. My text, James, I cannot have dinner with you. I love Terry and cannot step out on him. James text, Jesus, does he own you? My text, yes, he owns me just like your wife owns you. The difference is I care about Terry owning me, and you don't seem to care about that. James text, well, that was a cheap shot. I didn't respond. I went to bed feeling much better, and Terry came to bed later. I slept well that night, and we early the next morning, reminding me how loving my husband was and what I could lose. Late Thursday afternoon, I had a call from an unknown number. I answered. Room 823, come to me, please. Then he hung up. I was going to my book club tonight, so I did not respond. I worked late finishing some big orders. The book club started at 7 p.m., and I had a few minutes before leaving the office when a text came in. James's text, come to me baby, I want you so bad, and I know you want me, like old times. I sat thinking for 15 minutes. My heart was racing. What was it about this man that drew me to him? I had fought against him, yet I was considering going to him. It was time to leave, and I decided to go to the book club. 10 minutes later, I turned into the parking lot of the Marriott. I parked in a dark area and texted Melissa. My text: Melissa, I am so sorry, some work has come up, and I can't come tonight. So sorry for the late response. Melissa's text: no problem, see you next time. Call me, we can have coffee. My text: on next week, maybe Tuesday. Melissa text: okay, sounds good. I stepped out of my car, took a deep breath, and walked to the hotel. The lobby was busy, so I breezed through to the elevator bank. I pressed up and waited. My heart was racing, and my throat was dry. I knew this was so wrong and very dangerous. Was I crazy? Yes, I was. Bing, the bell rang, and the door opened on the 8th floor. I stepped out, turned left, and walked down the hall. I was shaking with anticipation and fear. Oh God! I thought, what am I doing here? I stopped in front of room 823. Was I ready to commit adultery against my loving husband? I knocked on the door to answer my question. The door opened, and there he was. My God, my heart leaped, my pussy quivered, and my breathing became rapid. I was almost hyperventilating. Hello, beautiful lady. Please come in. James moves away from the door, letting me enter. He dressed casually, in trousers and a shirt, and he looked amazing. Maybe more handsome than before, or perhaps it was what I wanted to justify what I was doing. I walked past James as he closed and locked the door, and I stopped in the middle of the room and turned to look at him. My God, he was gorgeous, just as I remembered. My God, Patrice, you look incredible, more beautiful than ever. Your life agrees with you, and life with Terry must be particularly good. Yes, James, life is wonderful, Terry is wonderful, which begs the question, what am I doing here in this room with you about to destroy everything I have? No, it doesn't have to be that way. Terry is a busy man and won't know anything about us, so we can be careful, and meet a couple of times a month, play around, and you go home to your loving husband, and no one but you and I will ever know. James made it sound so simple, but it was not that simple. It was complicated. I was not sure I could lie to Terry long-term or short-term even. And my love for him was strong. Suddenly I was cloaked with guilt and shame for just standing here in this room with James. Had I lost my mind? I slumped in a chair and sobbed. Oh God, I can't do this, I must leave. Please, James, help me leave. I must go home. James was beside me, with his arms around me. My head filled with his manly scent, and I melted into him, sobbing hard. Suddenly what little resistance I had, melted away, and we were in a full-on. I was weak and ready to be taken, and James did. As our breathing became normal and the glow began to wane. I looked at the clock, and it was a little after 9. I need to clean up and leave. I looked at James. I said nothing as I leaned over and gave him a soft kiss. Walked to the door not looking back and left. My ride home that night was excruciatingly painful. Suddenly I was racked with guilt and extremely angry at myself for being so weak and cheating on the man I love more than anything. I worked my story out in my head, and as I pulled into the garage, I saw Terry's car was not there. I had not looked at my phone, so I didn't know if he had called or texted. I opened it, and there were 2 messages. Terry's text: Pat, working late again, I'll be home about when you are. Wait up for me, please. I want to talk a little, and I need your opinion. The voicemail said the same and was left later. I sent Terry a text. My text: home babe, come to me. As I sent the text, I burst into tears, knowing how wrong I had been, by cheating on Terry. I stumbled into the house. put my purse in its normal station and went to the bedroom. I stripped and started the shower. I knew I could not do that again. Just then, I heard Terry come home. He called out to me. "Patrice, where are you?" "I'm up here, babe. Come take me." I heard his footsteps as he came up the stairs. I lay there smiling, knowing how much I love this man. What happened earlier was now only a bad memory. Part 2 coming soon. Copyright all rights reserved. No part of this story can be reproduced in any form or by any electronic or mechanical means without written permission from the author.